19, ever since the struggle against the Citizenship Amendment Act began in a big way, people holding up the Constitution. You never saw this earlier in mass protests, whether of farmers or of other sections of society. But today, the Constitution, people say this is our document. This empowers me. This is meant to restrain you. And this is something which, I think was. I think of all the things that would have pleased Baba Sahib, if we were to look at what is happening in India today, it would be to see how people have adopted this document as their own, as part of the living process of their own struggle, rather than reducing it to some kind of holy book, which is what the government or the politicians of the day will want us to believe. Friends, I want to say a few words also about the importance of theatre, culture and intellectual life, because our seminar is part of a glorious tradition in Karnataka of the whole Mahurupi Theatre Festival, the whole theatre movement in this state. Now, theatre has traditionally and historically functioned as a space of resistance against authoritarian impulses. It exposes power to scrutiny. It humanizes those who are rendered invisible. It refuses the simplifications that fascist thinking thrives on. So in aligning Baba Sahib Ambedkar with Mahurupi, I think Rangayana is making a very, very important statement that culture is not, again, something that you can reduce to an ornament of democracy. Culture is one of the ways we have of safeguarding democracy. So when we come up with the idea of a festival of this kind, we do so with a great sense of responsibility. This is our work as cultural workers, as theatre people, as intellectuals, as academics, of using culture as a tool, as a weapon to defend what is important, what is sacred for the broad masses of the people, which is our democracy. In the same way, Baba Sahib Ambedkar must not be turned into a neutral national icon stripped of his nationality. It's always happened in the past. Of course, for the longest time, Baba Sahib Ambedkar was ignored. So he was not taught. If you grew up in the 70s or 80s, before the big Dalit Bahujan upsurge, Baba Sahib Ambedkar did not figure as a prominent person in school textbooks. So for ages, he and his contribution was ignored. Once the masses, Dalit Bahujan masses, struggled, established their stake, reinforced their stake, their claim, the fact that they cannot be, that they are central to what is India today, you saw then a process of paying lip service to Baba Sahib Ambedkar. And you can see this now most clearly in the current government, where it's not uncommon to have the Prime Minister or other top leaders Dr. Ambedkar in very glowing terms. Part of that same process of taking an important thinker, an organic intellectual, somebody who saw the purpose of his life and work as that of empowering people, of struggling, of opposing caste, fighting for democracy, reducing that person into something which is simply a marketing icon, a symbol. And in my view, we should reject this notion that you can convert Dr. Ambedkar simply into some kind of symbol. The fact is that his critique of the Hindu social order, his warnings about majoritarianism, his warnings against cult of personality, his warnings about how democracy will be undermined, his insistence on the reason, his insistence on dissent, as measured, for example, when he burns a copy of the Manusmriti, or when he adopts Buddhism. Today, it's strange. Leaders who praise Ambedkar, they file cases against. There was a case of a young woman who burned Manusmriti as part of a political protest. So you can have praise from Ambedkar on the one hand, but when a young woman inspired by Dr. Ambedkar does something like that, they file a criminal case against her. We saw a few years ago political leaders who took the same oath that Baba Sahib took at Diksha Bhumi, criminal cases being filed against them. So trying to completely eviscerate the person and the tradition is something that we must fight against, and we need to remember that the principles that he stood for, the importance of reason and dissent that he promoted is something that we need very much in our day-to-day work. We must also resist the temptation to treat democracy as something that is a one-shot affair that can be defended once and for all, and then we can go home. For him, for Baba Sahib, there was no room for any kind of complacency. He believed that democracy had to be defended every day in institutions, in public discourse, in classrooms, in courtrooms, in newsrooms, although most newsrooms have given up, but in newsrooms also, and of course in cultural spaces such as this, which is why I think it is so important, this work that Rangana is doing, and I applaud the organizers of this event, not only for keeping this whole amazing tradition alive, but by giving this focus this year to the multifaceted Ambedkar. Finally, a word about memory. Festivals like Bahurupi are, of course, acts of collective remembrance. But memory, you see, memory can sometimes make us complacent by dulling our senses, or memory can sharpen our sense of responsibility. Dr. Ambedkar did not believe that justice was inevitable. He believed it had to be fought for, intellectually, politically, culturally, and morally. If this seminar succeeds, and I'm sure it will not merely celebrate the life and work of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, it will renew his challenge to us to defend democracy not just from its declared enemies, but from its internal decay. To treat the Constitution not as some kind of ornament or relic, but as a living instrument of resistance. And to recognize that equality, once you compromise on equality, all freedoms are placed at risk. I think that with these words, I would like to end. Once again, wishing the seminar great success and congratulating the organizers for organizing the event with this team. Thank you so much.
ಬಹುರೂಪಿ ಬಾಬಾ ಸಾಹೇಬ್ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣವನ್ನು ಉದ್ಘಾಟಿಸಿ ಉದ್ಘಾಟನಾ ನುಡಿಗಳನ್ನು ಆಡಿದ ಶ್ರೀ ಸಿದ್ಧಾರ್ಥ ವರದರಾಜನ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬು ಹೃದಯದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳಾಗಿ ಆಗಮಿಸಿರುವ ಮೈಸೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯದ ಕುಲಪತಿಗಳಾದ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ NK ಲೋಕನಾಥ್ ಅವರು ಒಂದೆರಡು ನುಡಿಗಳನ್ನು ಆಡಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಮನವಿ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ BR ಅಂಬೇಡ್ಕರ್ ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ಹಾಗೂ ವಿಸ್ತರಣಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಮತ್ತು ಸಮಾಜ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣ ಇಲಾಖೆಯ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ BR ಅಂಬೇಡ್ಕರ್ ತರಬೇತಿ ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ಹಾಗೂ ವಿಸ್ತರಣಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಬಹುರೂಪಿ ಬಾಬಾ ಸಾಹೇಬ್ ಸಮತೆಯೆಡೆಗೆ ನಡಿಗೆ ಕುರಿತು 2 ದಿನದ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣ ಉದ್ಘಾಟನಾ ಸಮಾರಂಭದ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾಗಿರುವ ಮೈಸೂರಿನ ಜಿಲ್ಲಾ ಉಸ್ತುವಾರಿ ಸಚಿವರು ಹಾಗೂ ಸಮಾಜ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣ ಇಲಾಖೆಯ ಸಚಿವರಾದ ಸನ್ಮಾನ್ಯ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ SC ಮಾದಪ್ಪ ಅವರೇ, ಹಾಗೂ ಈಗ ತಾನೇ ಉದ್ಘಾಟನಾ ಭಾಷಣವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದ LEWI ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಸಂಪಾದಕರಾದ ಶ್ರೀ ಸಿದ್ಧಾರ್ಥ ವರದರಾಜನ್ ಅವರೇ, ಹಾಗೂ ಶ್ರೀ ಶಿವಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರೇ, ವಿಧಾನ ಪರಿಷತ್ತಿನ ಶಾಸಕರು, ಹಾಗೂ ಈ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ